from an accolade standpoint, from a fan love standpoint, and then from a longevity standpoint. You're like in a very rare group.
Well, I wanted to get rarer, have more to do.
Hello, hello. This is Brooke Devard, and you're listening to the Naked Beauty Podcast. And if you're joining us on YouTube, you are watching the Naked Beauty Podcast. And today is a very special Mother's Day episode of Naked Beauty. I am joined by Lynn Whitfield and Grace Gibson. And I'm going to they really need no introduction, but I'm going to give you some insight into their incredible careers. Lynn Whitfield is an Emmy Award-winning, 7-time NAACP Image Award-winning, and Golden Globe-nominated actress. Recently, she was awarded the NBAF Cultural Icon Award, a most fitting accolade for her excellence across film, television, and stage. From the inimitable Josephine Baker, criminal mastermind Alicia, to vengeful Brandy, Lynn Whitfield dominates. Lynn has created a legacy of portraying complex and powerful women who shape storytelling in Hollywood and beyond. Grace Gibson, her daughter, is a rock and roll artist forging her own path in music. A graduate of Berklee College of Music, also a graduate of Spence, where we first met. Grace regularly entrances audiences at venues like Paisley Park and the Apollo Music Cafe. Grace has committed herself to reclaiming the legacy of Black musicians that pioneered rock and roll in her own distinct way. So excited to have you all on Naked Beauty.
We're so excited to be here with you.
Finally.
Finally. I've been begging you all to come on this podcast for how many years now?
At least three.
At least three.
But I'm an alum.
You are an alum, an early guest of Naked Beauty.
Very
and 2026 was the year we were meant to make it happen. So happy Mother's Day. This is my Mother's Day episode. So everyone listening to this is in that kind of mind state. Mm-hmm. And as I'm looking at the questions, even some of the questions say Lynn, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Miss Whitfield. Like, I feel like I can't even call, because since I've known you, I've never called you Lynn in my life. I'm like, can I call you Lynn? Is that allowed?
Would you please?
Okay. Well, Lynn, you grew up in Baton Rouge.
Yes.
What was it like for you growing up, and what were your early experiences of beauty?
Oh my God. My mother was very conscious of beauty.
Okay.
Very systematic about it, extremely glamorous.
Okay.
One of my early remembrances of Mom is her going every week to see Mrs. Watson. And Mrs. Watson, what we now know, was a lymphatic drainage specialist. From what she did. She'd say, oh, that woman, she kills me every time. But it was lymphatic drainage.
Right,
they just didn't have the name.
Didn't she call it her exercises?
And that was her exercises.
I love it.
Mom was a glamour girl, and all of her sisters, their own brand of beauty, of expression. And Louisiana, just it's all mixed up. Mm-hmm. So Aunt Lane had flaming red hair, and Mom had black hair, later with this gray streak.
Love.
Hetty was the bohemian of the crew. Mm-hmm. And they all had these expressions of...
And Shirley.
And Aunt Shirley was more conservative and sort of a bronze babe, beautiful legs and all that. My early impressions also, because I was small and there were so many women around, I would just see all these petticoats and pencil skirts, from my
vantage point.
And to this day, I'm a petticoat girl. Yes. And the AKAs and this and that, and so many parties at my grandparents' home. So it was very feminine and bold expression.
Did you feel beautiful growing up?
I thought I was pretty cute.
So it was affirmed, like in your household, you were made to feel beautiful?
Intermittently. In my very younger years, very much so. Mm-hmm. And later, all of that became more complex and different kinds of programming and information that, that came into the fold. And also, I think when you start looking at yourself in comparison to the rest of the world. But as a little girl, I didn't think about it really, but I had an idea that I was adorable.
Grace, I'm so curious for you. I don't think I've heard from you. Did you feel beautiful growing up?
Well, I want to throw back a little bit because to what Mom was just speaking about, the DNA of our family, I think the artistic, creative, aesthetic DNA of our family is very strong. So there are so many memories that I have of my grandmother, like us going natural with my grandma. Like it was a no. She wanted to move to, I think, Mexico at some point, but she's like, oh, but baby, who's going to do my perm? You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, the humidity.
Right.
A black Southern
And
belle.
I went natural, like, right, yeah, truly. I went natural right after college, like during college, and I would go into Baton Rouge a lot, and I was moving to New Orleans, and my grandma was like, baby, please brush the hair, Lord Jesus. It's like the most dramatic thing. But I think it's so ingrained in us, and we all kind of interpret it differently.
Yes.
You know, but extremely, like an extreme attention to detail. I remember when I was in my first movie, Black Nativity, my uncle, Peppa, her brother, was sending emails of hair references for my red carpet debut.
Wow.
And
how old were you at this point?
I was like 20.
Okay, but he was like, you're early in your career, but you're going to get it right.
100%. Or just waking up in the middle of the night because he saw me eating with a knife and fork in a way that was not correct when I was like 7 at Spence. I'm just thinking back. Everything that you're talking about is just making me, the petticoats, everything. We had our family cares about that, but I think it's a deeper thing. It's like your identity and part of your culture, these Louisiana Southern belles. But did I feel beautiful growing up? I think I was always affirmed by my mom that I was. But I think going to a place like Spence,
very white,
Trey, caucastic, you know? So like there were just micro things and some macro things that you just felt a little different.
Yeah.
And you wanted your hair straight or you wanted something else, you know? But early in, and I think it was when we moved to California for a while, that I began to really get stronger in my identity and embrace like my big forehead, my long hair, all that stuff like that. I mean, my curly hair and the frizz. And yeah, so did I feel beautiful growing up? I don't know. I don't know if growing up was about feeling beautiful. I think growing up, you then begin to get the tools that allow you to find that within yourself.
One thing that I observed in Grace, somewhere Spence into the master's school, I saw her be rebellious about her beauty.
Yes.
I saw her want to normalize herself. Like, I don't know if it's like you weren't. Do you know what I mean?
I think.
Well, I would say that I observed. I can think back to seeing you at Spence, and it was very like headband, cable knit sweater, and now I see you as like very kind of like rock and roll. Like your the way you express yourself through your beauty choices and your fashion choices, I feel like has a lot more edge to it than probably you were allowed to express when we were in such a like suffocating environment.
Yeah, you all both have very strong opinions about
that. But I
time.
do remember like making little, there were those micro. So just for reference, everybody, we went to school, like elementary school together.
Yes.
And so Brooke was a little older and much like so cool. I was like, she's that girl.
She's so wanted to be with you.
It gave me something to look up to because, no offense, love y'all. Y'all were not giving Brooke DeVard in my grade, okay? It wasn't giving that. It wasn't giving Hannah Brofman. It wasn't giving Brooke DeVard. I had to look up to see.
Hilarious.
I was like, okay, they're a vibe. But I remember little things because we had to wear the skirt, we had to wear uniform. But the shoes you picked,
yes,
your accessories. So I was a little rebellious in my accessories. I was like, oh, I'm going with the all. Those Pumas. You like those ones?
Yes,
that are with the Velcro.
Love
all pink.
Yes.
Okay. Or like I had the Converse that were like boots, little things like that. You used to wear the moccasin, the mini tonkas.
Oh my gosh,
with
the fringe. Your memory.
Yes.
Wow.
I was like, that's a look.
Did you, Lynn, have these concerns about sending your daughter to a majority white school? And was that your experience? Like when you went to school in Louisiana, was it racially diverse?
No, early on, I went to a Seventh-day Adventist school because that
Oh,
was the best school
okay.
for children who were not white, for black kids. It gave you the best foundations. Later, they wanted to send me to a private school, St. Joseph's Academy, and I wanted to go to public school.
Hmm.
I pushed.
Talk
So
about
I went
rebellious.
to Robert E. Lee High School, which is now called Liberty High School. Haha.
And you wanted to go to that high school because it was more diverse?
I wanted to go to that high school because I didn't want to be in a very sheltered environment.
Yes.
It wasn't about race. It was just about more diversity in every way.
In every way, yes.
And so that's the choice I made. I don't know. Maybe I would go to St. Joseph's if I had to do it over again. But I don't think so. I think I did what my spirit was telling me I should do. It was at a time when I went to Robert E. Lee High School, it was like in the second or third year that it was all
Integrated? Oh, wow.
And so I was on another kind of front line that I did not expect, and I think that in a way sort of interfered with my feeling beautiful. When you're in a classroom and, kids are so silly. And this is how now, brown cow. And like, what in the world?
What?
And my retort was, crackers will crumble.
I love it. Quick with it.
Crackers won't crumble, or they
will crumble.
That's what
I mean, that was just like, so I think that, that kind of programming that comes from, racial encounter
Yes.
subliminally,
Right.
says, oh, I'm not that standard of beauty.
Right.
But I mean, we don't even need to give it importance anymore because now we know.
Now we know.
And now it's
We're the
for us
blueprint.
to, absolutely.
Yes.
You're the blueprint. You're one of the blueprints.
Well, I mean, Black women, right? I mean, it's just. So when you went to Howard University, and you got to be around and you're third generation Howard University.
Yes.
Okay.
On both sides.
How did that feel to be in this environment where you're seeing all of these different people and styles?
It was so exciting. It was so exciting because I was coming to Howard from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a very southernly conservative Black young woman from a professional family. So I remember going to my first movement class and people had, all kinds of piercings and afros and all of that. And I had on rose pink leotard matching tights.
Chic.
And and you say chic, of course.
I love
but
that.
I was so I was much more conservative and sort of pulled together, like matching.
Yes.
And to see this array of expression from Black people in what they felt made them beautiful and how they adorned themselves was so exciting for me.
Yes.
It was a whole new world of aesthetics.
Yes.
That and the art scene. I was with the DC Black Repertory Company as well, and it completely different. I mean, bell bottoms, the platforms, the men with ponytails, and I had not seen that, and it was the first time women were, oh, my sister, you have to use coconut oil, and it was jasmine, and it was all so different.
Right.
This different holistic approach to what they, how to seek beauty.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was very exciting.
Did you have any experiments with beauty during that time? Did you try new things with your hair?
I cut my hair all off and had an afro this long.
Wow. Grace, have you seen these pictures?
So just also a reference point is we're best friends.
Love.
This is my bestie. I mean,
Yes.
quickly, if I cross a line, she is purely my mother. You know what I mean?
And if
but
I cross the line, she's purely my daughter.
yes. But we're really each other's best friends. And so if I'm being honest, the tea is that I haven't seen the fro, but I've seen her wedding pictures from her first wedding where my grandmother, her mother had her put a turban over the
Yes,
fro.
I think that though they thought they
Oh.
made me feel like I was the most adorable as a little girl, as my aesthetics started changing, I think it was really undermined by particularly my mother's sensibility of what beautiful was, right?
Yes.
So my headpiece completely covered my
Your small afro.
yes, and it
Her
was
afro
really
crown.
tiny.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so that was difficult.
Sure.
It was difficult, but I knew that my expression of beauty, not glamour,
Mm-hmm.
but beauty, was going to be different than my mother's, which was very, very inspired by, you know, Western culture and Western white culture. And it wasn't that I'm not a very Afrocentric person, but I knew that it would be different, that my sensibility would be different. And so when Grace came along, I knew that something about her was rock and roll.
How soon did you have this sense of who she was?
I believe around 2.5, 3.
Wow.
Because one thing I always believed, and I didn't know how to, because Grace was, unfortunately, a child of divorce, as was I, and I never wanted to create that.
Why do you say unfortunately, though?
Well, I say unfortunately because it would be better to have had, for Brian and myself, her dad and her mother, to have made the wisest choices of partnership, right? And perhaps we didn't, we fell in love on the tail end of Josephine Baker, and he was a director.
Yes.
But I don't know. It was something in her spirit that was kind of rebellious and kind of funky early on. And so I never put her in just those little, just
Bows
the
and
lace
dresses.
Well,
yeah.
yes, but it was an expression of her own. It was mixed patterns and all of that, and
Yes.
just like a little bit more bold and I just never thought that she was that person.
She had
who would
me in
be
like
happy.
leggings that had polka dots or stripes and like a turtleneck, like
Or
a little
polka
New
dots
York
and stripes and
polka dots and stripes.
Cute.
Yes. One thing I've learned from my mom is how we move through the world is so important, and the power of beauty and expression, and also how we live at home.
Yes.
Because like we've lived so many places. Sometimes I'm like, okay, we're just passing through. And she came to see my dorm at Columbia when I went to Columbia for 1.5 years. And she was like, girl, no wonder you're depressed. I was going through a hard time. She's like, no wonder you're depressed. You're living like a heathen. She's like, and then she looked in my friend's room who had these posters and drapes. And she was like, I'm competitive. This is effed up. We need to get your room together. Because she was like, if you feel less than in your space, how are you going to go out there and feel beautiful? That was one thing
Good
from her.
point.
it's hard.
And then another thing was when moving through the Eurocentric world, the power of, like, my British family will always be like, oh, well, your mother always had you looking fabulous. Like there's a pride in
Yes.
how we comport ourselves and that we're put together. And so even she knew there's not a one size fits all. It's like sometimes you funk it up a little bit and sometimes you wear an A-line skirt and sometimes
Yes.
you wear
There is an art to knowing how to show up for what occasion, right?
right.
Yes, and I don't think I would call it, because appropriate, under the word appropriate is all kinds of, you have to be correct, you have to fit in.
Right.
But I think it's finding out how to meet the moment
Yes.
as yourself,
Yes.
but meet the moment that you're walking into.
yes.
And sometimes it's a conundrum because, we have many examples of, things that just don't fit the personality or fit the body. I'm much better. My personality is much better. My inner beauty is much better when I feel comfortable.
Yes, I agree.
So it's being comfortable in meeting the moment, that you're comfortable to be your best self.
Yes. Grace, growing up, I'm sure you saw your mom getting ready for lots of fabulous events.
God.
And I just know that the vanity just had all of these beautiful lotions and potions. And what were your early memories of seeing your mom just adorning herself, like in that beauty practice?
Okay, one of my earliest memories in life is being at Saks. It was Saks, right?
This is shopping.
Okay, but
yes.
this all ties in.
Yes,
all right,
it
I'm gonna
does.
go there.
Which
and I'm gonna go.
R.I.P. Saks. I went into Saks the other day, and it was like heartbreaking to
It's
see
so
the discount signs and the clothes
It's
kind of hanging off the hanger. I'm
so
like, this is
Bergdorf
not the
Saks.
Saks that I
Yes.
know.
Rest.
Yeah, well, Bergdorf's is still like in good, but Saks is like,
I don't know. Everything seems to be a little
I know.
having its issues.
So yeah, the glory days of Saks Fifth
Daffy's.
Avenue and oh my gosh, Daffy's, Loman's,
yeah.
Henry Bendel.
Do I ever miss Loman's
Yes.
and Henry Bendel's? But Loman's was
Loman's.
just had the best quality.
Susan Fales my aunt Susan Fales will always bring up the story of how she met me. I was in a baby carrier on the counter at Loman's.
Yes.
And mom was negotiating something. But to go back,
Our moms have that in common. Like, I like shopping. My mother, this is like a big part of our family lore. My mother left the hospital when my brother was born to stop to go shopping because there was a sale going on.
my mom's water was breaking. Okay, and she was trying on Ferragamo. Was it?
No, my water broke when I was at Silks and Woolens over on Beverly. It's
Okay. Oh yes,
very-
yeah.
yes,
It's
and-
still there.
Yes, and I was with Opal Stone, who's a designer. Now she designs jewelry. She was working with me to figure out, because I was nominated for an Emmy, and I was having Grace. If I had her absolutely on time, I would have 2 weeks to get it together.
Oh my
I was
God.
really messing with the waistline.
So I had no idea what I would be able to fit into. It was not a moment where designers, and every designer wanted to send me something.
Of course.
Because if Josephine Baker, why, it's like they were sending it to Josephine Baker. And I I didn't know what my body was going to do. So Opal Stone, we were designing a gown and we were choosing colors of Duchess satin, and my water broke and I had on that was early on, the little mule slide with the kitten heel. But
you were in heels 9 months pregnant. Even a kitten when you're pregnant. But you were you were
doing it.
fabulous.
I was young and
She was on a press tour.
I was young and foolish, and the press tour was going on all
Wow.
that. So we're choosing this, and we're holding these Duchess satins, trying to compare the colors, and bam, the water broke. Listen, I was so concerned that my Blahniks were going to
Blahnik.
I jumped out those Blahniks and away from that Duchess so fast.
Oh my
before it hit the
God.
floor.
And Opal drove me home, and we went straight to the hospital. But yes, again, I guess that's a part of beauty and glamour.
So she had asked me a question, so I'm going to go back to
Yes,
answering
go back.
it. So basically, upon birth, jumping out of the Blahniks.
Yes.
Okay. And then we moved to New York. I was born here. We moved to New York. And Mom and I have both been rebellious a little bit. I'm going to just put you out there, Queen.
Oh my God.
What I didn't say about her first marriage
What is
was,
it?
it was like, I would never. It was like her professor. He was like your
Oh, this is real
the head
tea.
of the
No, he
So badass.
He was the artistic director of and a funding director at the National Endowment for the Arts, but he was the artistic director of the DC Black Repertory Company, which was the sister company
Okay.
to NEC.
Okay.
Your earliest memory, Saks Fifth Avenue.
Fifth Avenue. I am in the corner in a ball begging whatever. I hadn't found Jesus yet, but I was like begging the atmosphere, like, please, can we please leave here and go to Serendipities or go somewhere? I need a hot dog. I need to do some child stuff. And Mom was just, it felt like an eternity. It felt like
I
my
know.
whole life, like I was born, conceptualized.
It was not. It was terrible. She was just.
I felt like everything in my life had happened in that dressing room.
Yeah, because you had been there for so long, probably.
And I was like crying. I was like, Mom, can we please leave and see the sun again? And she was like, honey, one day you'll understand. There's a sale on Diane von Furstenberg wrap dresses.
And that's serious business.
She was like, you'll get this one day. I sure did understand.
I agree. I think the fact that I know how to shop the way that I know how to shop is because of shopping with my mother and grandmother. And I've been with friends, and it's like they kind of look all. I'm like, do you not know how to shop?
No,
There's an art to shopping.
It's like people who don't know how to go out, like people who don't know
Right.
how to be out on the town.
Yes,
They
I
don't know how
am
to shop.
always amazed. Well, not always, because I don't shop with people who shop this way very often. You know, it has nothing to do with the hunt,
Right.
and everything to do with, I can't look. It's just too much. Can
Yeah.
you
They
find
get
me that
overwhelmed.
and get overwhelmed?
Yeah,
and then,
I'll just take this on the full mannequin, full price, just back.
and
it's
the
like,
full
what?
the full.
can't.
I
We
know.
have work to do.
I know.
There are things that must take place.
So yes, it's not as much fun
Yes.
to shop that way.
No.
But nor do I. I just don't. Because I know what the markup is.
Oh, it's
ridiculous.
insane.
You don't
Yeah.
what?
Full price, shopping
Full
full
price.
price. No.
Is
Give me an outlet, and then when I go to the outlet, I want to shop sale at the outlet.
yes.
Listen,
I want to talk about the Josephine Baker story and the also behind the scenes love story as that movie was being made with Grace, your dad. Josephine Baker was the very first icon, you know this, Grace, of the Naked Beauty podcast when I launched in 2016.
Oh really?
And I've always just loved and admired and I've been obsessed with Josephine Baker. So even just getting that part, what a huge honor. Take me to the beginning, getting the part, and then what was it like making that movie?
Getting the part was a 7-month process. A process in which I came to despise her father because I felt like he should have known. So we went through all the round of
So you all were
auditioning.
already together at that point?
No.
this is how
Oh.
she met him.
That's
okay,
how
but,
I
but
met
so
him.
why do you say that you thought that he should have known? Because you just thought it was so obvious that
Because
that you're
my
the
audition
person.
was better than everybody else's.
I've seen the audition. She produced her own tape.
Oh wow.
I just felt like I carried that I could. I don't know why, but
You put the work in.
I
You
put
felt-
the
you
work
felt
in.
it,
But I
yes.
think that the universe, God makes choices, and I felt like Josephine's spirit was very present in the shooting of this film.
Yes.
And I felt that she could trust me to honor her in all of her complexity and all of that. I just felt that then. I wish now at this point in my life I had such strong creative feelings like that, because I felt invincible. I had the energy, everything to do to make it happen. So the whole round of
To
auditions
manifest
that
it.
happened here to manifest it was months long. Everyone wanted to do the part. And at the end of that, I was one of the finalists there. And I was sitting in a chair, not as modern, but much like the scale of this one, having finished the final scene. And he came over, he said, "Well, darling, you do." I was like, that was very good, very good. Now we're moving on to New York and London, and we'll get back to you.
Like to audition more people.
So this is why I couldn't stand him. It's like, that's ridiculous. It had nothing to do with me personally.
Right,
It's like,
right.
So they went to New York. They did the same thing in New York.
Wow.
They went to London. They did the same thing in London.
Wow.
And they then decided that the choice should be Irene Cara as the young Josephine and Diane Carroll as the older Josephine. I don't know what happened, but they changed their mind or whatever that was, and months later they called back and I refused to go.
Really?
I was
You were like, I'm over it
I
at this
had
point.
such post-traumatic stress
Right.
from I refused to go into an office. I said, if we all meet, we have to meet somewhere that has a round table and not in an office.
Yeah.
because I was really traumatized. Like I was humble enough to know what an opportunity it was and how deeply I wanted it.
Yes.
So yeah. And then after that meeting, we did another screen test that took 7 hours.
Wow.
The following Saturday, every phase of her life.
Wow.
And the next morning, they called and with the offer.
Wow. When I think about her, I obviously think about the hair and the glamorous outfits. When you were doing the screen tests, how did you channel her look?
I went to this rental place which no longer exists that was on Fairfax. What was the name of it? It was at Fairfax near Melrose. They had the most beautiful period clothes. I was not going to try to assimilate a silk velvet shrug with a fox collar. Like,
Right.
you can't fool around with that. You have to really, and they helped me. They helped me pull all of that together. I thought it was worth the investment.
Yes, of course.
And then they were very kind to me and excited for, that I could possibly. So I did all that. But after the film, actually, one of the people who work there, I asked that Pony was his name, could come with me to Budapest. And he came to just help with the period things and went back.
Oh, amazing.
Right after we finished shooting, yeah. But I just felt it was important to be accurate.
Didn't Dad say something like, after seeing your audition tape, oh, you could direct this?
Yeah, I feel like you could produce and direct the whole thing. And I was like, well,
I could.
Hell yeah. So, like, why are you taking so long to decide then? It was just very...
Did you feel a romantic spark at the beginning, or you were just annoyed?
No, not at all.
So when did that evolve?
Once we were in Budapest and we were working so hard toward the same goal, which is what I think a good marriage is supposed to be. And he was so protective of me as an actress, and I was so in support of his vision and wanting. So it was all so many things that a good marriage is made of, and so that's how we fell in love, like that. And
the photos are epic.
They are
of them on set.
Oh my gosh, we'll insert them here in the episode for people watching. Yes.
Looking deep
in the banana
eyes.
skirt on but the thing is that we didn't experience true intimacy. We didn't have sex while I was shooting.
Grace's face.
No,
Call me
well,
when this part's
because
over.
I was even aware at that point that I couldn't betray her power and get all soapy and vulnerable, and it would be too much.
Yes.
I knew that, and at that point, I think the only other actress who'd had this opportunity, Black actress, was Diana Ross in Lady Sings the Blues. They weren't spending tons of time where a Black woman was the subject of and in every frame of a film.
Yes.
And so I couldn't mess that up. But it's probably why we got married so quickly. And maybe that got in the way of the best.
They went straight to
choices.
London
And got married.
That's how you do it, ladies. Hold out.
How old were you, Grace, when you saw the movie for the first time? And what was your emotional response to seeing it?
I did not see the movie until I was in college.
Wow. How is that possible?
There's a lot of breast in that film.
Okay. So you weren't allowed to see it?
No.
No,
Girl, we were in like a household where it was a hippie household. You know what I mean?
So, but you weren't ready to take it in.
That's just me being tongue in cheek and funny about it. Because I mean, I do have to say, so many men have come up to me and be like, the first titties I ever saw was your mother's. Thank you so much for, bringing me into adulthood. Tell her thank you. And I'm just like, okay, why is this an exchange that we're having? So, of course, that was like the tongue-in-cheek funny thing. But I think it was very emotional for me to watch it. Because simultaneously, I'm watching, my father passed away when I was 12. I'm watching his vision. I'm watching his choices on camera. It's like being inside his head. And the way that we bonded as a family was like watching movies together. So that's like a language. Even through divorce, they did a great job of us having things that we would do together, which I think spilled into my artistry, like going to see movies, going to see Broadway plays. I was trying to go see Cats like it was going to the park. They were like, please, girl, no. That's
If I
don't be normal.
saw that, what? Oh my God.
But seeing it as an adult was very emotional for me because I'm seeing posthumously who he was
Yes.
as an artist and therefore as a man. And then I'm seeing my mother come into her own in such a grand way and channel, like, I think of my godmother is Caroline Ducrot, but my like fairy godmother is Josephine Baker. Because
Yes.
without her, I wouldn't be alive.
Wow.
And then I'm seeing them fall in love on through this process, and her vulnerability and all that what Josephine went through mirrors part of our journey that people don't know what we've gone through as a family. And so it was very emotional. I cried a lot. And yeah, I had to kind of get my weight up to watch that movie. And I'm so glad that I did because it's the reason I'm here.
Yeah, wow. I love that. Well, it's interesting to me. You both have these creative careers, and you often hear that people's families are the thing that hold them back from having a creative career. So, did you both have, so Grace, I know that your mother's been supportive of you pursuing the arts. Were your parents supportive of you pursuing the arts?
No.
They weren't. But you did it anyway. So how was that
I did
journey?
They inspired me by who they were as human beings. Right. So my mother's aesthetic sense, how she told stories and researched, it could be food. It could be that she's from a different country. It inspired me, in how she expressed herself. My father had something called the Baton Rouge Community Chorus, and to have something for people in our community to be entertained by. So my birth was announced on stage when he was doing that, but it was more of a community-based thing. I was on my own pretty much.
But he had a psychedelic black rock band called Black Blood and the Chocolate Pickles.
Well, yeah, by then I was I was on my way to Howard.
Yes.
And my father was a great songwriter. Grace has done one of his songs called Mississippi Mud.
And you produced one of his musicals.
I did. But they weren't helpful. So being an independent artist,
It takes a lot of courage to do it because so many people try and very, very few people succeed. And even fewer people have the career you've had from an accolade standpoint, from a fan love standpoint, and then from a longevity standpoint. You're like in a very rare
group. Well, I wanted to get rarer. I have more to do.
I have a lot to do, guys.
I have a lot of stuff that I have to do. But it was very meaningful that they were with me at the Emmys, and for them to see. And my father, passed away like a year and a half or so after that, 2 years. But that they could see that this stubborn headed tenacity to stay with it had reaped something, but there's another little story. Can I tell you?
Please.
So Brian and I get married in England. We go straight from Budapest to London, and it was August, right? So most people
They're vacationing.
are vacationing.
Yes.
So some of his family and friends were there. Not all. They were, scattered around the globe. None of my family was there. We married. I, introduced him to my parents. They were all very, I just had to do it. I had to go with the flow, informed by the fact that Josephine put all this off. And that's why she had the Rainbow Tribe. This is what fueled me to be. So We
You
get,
should explain to people that don't know what the Rainbow Tribe is because it's very unique.
well, you love it. So
Yes. I mean, she decided to adopt children from all over the world as her way of building her family. And she would just adopt kids one by one. I think she had up to 12 children
Yes.
that she adopted, one from
12
each from
children.
different countries. And they all lived in her
Yes.
fabulous chateau with her amazing
Yes.
pets. And
She needed all of that to fill the space of not having her own children. Right. So then that became a political statement, an emotional statement, not the wisest because she ran out of money. But we married. We were in a little muse house that my agent owned, and that was our wedding gift, that we could stay there while he was editing the film. And Brian was a Buddhist. So he's chanting away. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to get used to, because, I didn't know. It's the gongs and the bongs.
Very
and the
interactive.
various, like, a little muse house with stone and all of that. That's just echoing over the entire place. And he finishes chanting one day. It's like, we'd only been married for like 3 weeks or maybe a month. And he comes up those little stairs, a muse house, this
Yes.
tiny, and he says, darling. I said, what? He was like, it's something, an epiphany, like shock. I didn't know if it was some good, bad. He said, there's a little spirit that wants to come in
wow.
to our lives. Really wants to come in. I felt it so palpably, and we should let it. I looked at him like, well, I just did the biggest role of my life.
Right.
What in the hell are you talking about? You felt a spirit from the Dam Yo Dog, all of this. I'm like, okay, goobly gob. And
But that was grace.
Made me a little emotional.
it's true, because God, you can't know how God is going to speak and where God's voice is going to be heard. And I was very rebellious. It was like, that cannot be. This is that. I don't believe that. That's ridiculous. And anyway, I'm Christian, and this is crazy. And everything that I thought I was doing that would prevent that from happening, by October, I was pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
That's incredible.
the moment that when I had her, after I saved my Blonix and went to the hospital, and the next, when they brought her to me, I just first fell in love, didn't really understand, but I knew she was supposed to be here. And I knew that we were supposed to be together. And it really is kind of a metaphysical, transcendental kind of connection. And I'm not a infant baby person. No, I'm really
She's
not.
so funny. She's really not. I'll be like, oh, Mom, look at my friend had a kid. And she's like, uh-huh. She thinks your kids are adorable.
But it's different when it's your baby.
It's different when it's different when it's your baby, and it's different when it's a connection that you can't really explain.
Yes.
Like how this is, I couldn't explain it because I personally had never romanticized
Yes.
being a mother. Never. It just was not.
It wasn't on the vision board of what you
It
wanted
wasn't
with
that
your
it
life.
wasn't, but it wasn't anything that I spent a lot of time thinking about,
Okay,
That's
so
how it went
how many
down.
stars? 5, 10? What's your review?
Oh, of having? My gosh.
I'm joking.
No, but here's the thing. Being with any other human being, there's always challenges. Everyone's on their own rhythm. But Grace, I just wouldn't be the full person that I am. And I don't think I would have exactly the same vision for my present and what I want to do. And Grace keeps me cool.
Absolutely.
And we're just connected in such a
yes. I mean,
deep, strong way.
I love that you all are so close. Grace, what do you attribute that to? Like for you to say like my mom is my bestie, that's rare to have that deep relation and that feeling specifically when you say that a term like bestie, a lack of judgment, right? That you feel like I can share things and I'm not going to be judged or.
First of all, her telling that story of my coming into this world is so touching. And I do recall too that she had a spiritual advisor, and later when she was going through the divorce, and she was of course like really upset about it and saying, you know, questioning so many things. This woman who was a spiritualist, she said, okay, but you know, the higher power God is telling me she did not come here to be with him. She came here to be with you.
Wow.
And this is before my dad got sick, everything like that. And I mean, I love my dad. My dad and I, twinsies, you know, very similar, lives within me strongly. Would love nothing more than for him to still be here with us. But things just sometimes are out of your power. And mom set this stage, and dad did in his own way, but mom really like held it down and set the stage where she would ask me questions. You know, there are big life decisions that have to be made. We were a team because similarly to you know, when you are not just your kids, you're not just your husband, your gift and your calling in this world is larger than yourself. And you give of yourself to others. And if you don't do that, you're kind of disrespecting God. You're disrespecting why you're here. That was very understood in our family. Like, it wasn't talked about so much, but I understood walking through the street, and you were talking about growing up and her beauty routines. To me, growing up, my mom was bar none the most, and to this day, most beautiful woman in the world. We would walk outside, and I remember walking by, and there was this biker group of men, and they were like, and my mom was like, hey boys. She's like, nice bikes. And I was just like, oh, what a badass. And her getting ready and her routines, and I would be her stop clock. I'll be like, hey mom, you have 15 minutes, which is cute at first, but when you're running late, she's like, okay girl, stop. Just stop reminding me that I'm late. But I would see her do her thing. And one thing about my mom is that it was never precious either. Like, she was just doing it. It wasn't overthought. And I thought that was
it's natural. It's innate. It was in her.
It was like a lifestyle.
Yes.
Like, and she wanted to give that to me, and it seeps into everything. It's so beyond aesthetics. And to your point, why are we best friends? It's like she set the stage where these big decisions had to be made about her career. I had to understand sometimes, hey, mom has to go work in Vancouver for a couple months, but she's coming back. She would, and I think part of the reason why I'm a singer, she had nightly songs she would sing to me, and she would sing them on a CD and play it even when she was gone. I would be able to play it.
And it was a song that was in Josephine Baker.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes.
And it was just so fitting. My voice. What is
Pretty little baby, everybody knows. Pretty little baby, I love you. Sweeter than the honey, birds up in the tree.
Oh, this is so
You
beautiful.
know?
I'm going to cry. It's so gorgeous.
And so it was like,
but it was that other one.
beautiful, marvelous, simply adorable baby.
Cheeks like
The rose that were kissed by the morning dew.
Both of those songs are in the film.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's like my first concert is my mom. And
Wow.
we were a team. So it was like, hey, we might have to move to LA so I can work more. What do you think about that? Do you want to do that? And we would be problem solving. I mean, of course, like she'd run the show, but she would include me.
No, I needed to hear this because I think as a working mom, like all working moms, I carry guilt with me. You know, I have to travel next week. I'm going to be gone for a week and a half away from my kids. And you know, my son's like, you were just gone and you're going to be gone again.
Yes.
And he knows what I do for work and he knows that it fulfills me. But you always have that like kind of like aching of like, I shouldn't be away so much.
You do. As long as you continue to include them, I believe, that when they really understand the nuances of what you're doing, like it's tough at the moment, that there will be no lacking of love
Mm-hmm.
with your husband, with what you surround them with.
Mm-hmm.
And so it will all catch up to, because they grow up, you see.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And guess who told me a lot? When I moved to New York, Susan Fales was working out in Los Angeles.
Yes.
When we went to New York, Grace was 3, and she said, "Oh, you have to see Mommy." And so Josephine Premice and she was my other mother,
Oh, wow.
who offered me such incredible advice. I could ask her anything, and we spent hours and hours just sitting, because she was not as well as she would like, to be out in the world. And I saw how much Susan loved Josephine,
Yes.
and how she spoke of her,
Yes.
and how she shared everything with her and just admired her mom. And so Josephine, when I would sit and, just a bottle of champagne, and that she was such an elegant woman. And I said, "Well, Josephine, I want Grace to love me." When she goes, "Like Susan loves you, what did you do?" And I said, and you had to be gone, and you were doing Broadway and this and that. She said, "Oh, she would be impossible when I was about to go out, and it's just, oh, Mommy, I don't want you to go." I mean, she just act out. She said, "But I'd go in and I'd sing to her. I'd sing to her before she went to sleep. And of course, I was always there when she woke up in the morning, but it's the love and the hugs and always." And so the level of intimacy, and Aunt Helen taught me a lot,
Aunt Helen,
who was with us for about 8 years. One of my dear friends, who was also a prayer partner, her mother
Aunt Mary,
came, the best cook, the most loving,
Bohemian queen.
and so yes, and so she would say, "Oh, baby, you got to love them up, just love them up. That's all." And so I learned from other women how to let her know that I am definitely going to be a consistent in her life, whether I go to work or I come home. I'm your road dog, darling. I am
road.
It's bow wow. We're team. That's
Yes.
it.
Yes.
I'm never,
Yes.
ever going to leave you.
Oh my gosh.
And that's one of my earliest memories too. Being as, melaninely challenged as I am.
I was so amazed when she popped out, and she was
They were
so
all shocked. My
fair.
dad was like, "I thought we were going to have a little brown baby."
And I was like, "She's no way. I'm not going to have any imitation of life mess
God,
with this."
y'all.
Like,
But it's like no question that I'm a black woman.
Right, I was gonna say.
There's none of that. I'm biracial. That's not how I
Okay,
lead.
but you don't identify that way.
I think, yes, I am black of a biracial variety.
Yes.
But black comes first.
Yes.
And biracial is part of, I don't think it's
what
like
do you mean when you say
multicultural.
it comes first?
You identify as a
You
black
lead
woman
with
first.
it?
At the end of the day, we went to Spence. Nobody thought I was white. No matter if my hair was straight or whatever. I was never gonna be,
Right.
and I never wanted to be
Right.
perceived as such.
And I think that's important because as the mother of, mixed race kids, I want them to feel affirmed in their identity. I don't want them to have these struggles of, am I, because you hear about this inner conflict that a lot of biracial kids go through.
And I feel that there should be no discernment of this. You can choose to identify more strongly with, but you have to love all of who you are and understanding culturally. If you do a little bit of research from Grace's English family, there's so much of them in her
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's so much of
Yes.
my mother in her.
My point is, I don't want to distance myself from my Blackness.
Yes.
There's no desire in me to differentiate. You know, when we were in
Yes.
South Africa last year, I had a lot of conversations with people. They were like, "Oh, you're colored," and I was like, "I'm Black," and they're like, "But you're colored," and it was a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Because they have a way that they make a distinction, and if you go so far back, that distinction was made to create a caste system.
Yes.
Not everybody wants to acknowledge that.
Yes.
So casted, you know, it's all societal stuff that's not really real. But it's good to be aware of where it comes from.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and why would you want to differentiate between, there's a vast array
Yes.
within all these colors within Blackness.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, I have a question for the mothers listening and for the daughters listening. So, Grace, maybe I'll start with you. As a daughter, because as a mother, I always want to know this. How has your mom made you feel affirmed in your life choices and your creative journey? What are things that she's done to just make you feel good about the path that you're on? Because I think as a mother, we want nothing more than to make our kids feel loved, accepted, that they can flourish. How has she done that for you?
I think my mom keeps it 100. 100. 100. I think that's super important, you know, because I know she's a trusted muse, guide, and confidant. She's going to give it to me straight.
Okay.
And I think that that's super important. Like, you saw her on the red carpet with Duran.
Of course.
I
was right there.
Yeah, you were there. And that all comes from love. You know, I think that's an important thing of
He's so adorable.
We love him. Let's be radically honest with one another. And
that's helpful to hear, though, because I think sometimes the urge is to sugarcoat. Like, I had a moment where I was playing with my son and I said, how much longer am I supposed to let him win every time we play? And my husband's like, maybe we stop letting him win because, like, he's got to learn that he's not always going to win. It's like, I think sometimes you want to treat your kids with kid gloves, and actually radical honesty is the best thing for them.
Yes, I think that has been super integral to me becoming the person I am and to me becoming an artist. Like, to be honest, she didn't want me to do this.
No.
This was not a like, oh, carry on the family legacy thing. It was you say you want to do this thing. Only do it if you can't breathe without it.
Wow.
Because it's too hard.
No, I didn't take that approach of, oh, yes, sweetie, will we? No, you really have to want it. If I see that you really want it and your life will, then I will support it.
Yes.
Because that means that you're going to hang in there.
Yes.
And go get the tools and the knowledge and, like, go suck.
Oh, yeah. Well,
better.
and you've been putting in the work, you know, like moonlighting under directors, like playing different shows all around the country. Like, you've really put in the work, Grace.
Yeah, well, it started with the voice, the dancing, and then the voice. But it was she's a craftswoman.
Yes.
And everybody talks about the glamour and all this, but the craft and the study of that, and just being a service. You're like, it's a service you're rendering to society.
Yes.
And she really, really has put that work in, and these characters, she lives with them, she sits with them, she studies, she researches. Seeing her do that, seeing her give her all, you know, it gives you a standard of what is not even excellence. What is the bare minimum?
Absolutely.
You must give your all to start off.
Yes.
Like, and then go more.
Yes.
And so I think as that's been affirming, because it made me really have to dig deep.
Yes.
And not lie to myself, although I often do. But, you know, she keeps it real when it comes to my appearance, when it comes to my body, when it comes to my dating. Even if I'm wrong in a situation, she'll like be, well, you were kind of wrong, Grace. I was like, aren't you supposed to be on my side?
Blindly backing me up.
Yes, she doesn't.
But the
do that.
world isn't like that.
No.
Yes. Lynn, for you, I think
Yes.
that as daughters and sons listening to this, one of the things that we always want to do is we want to show our moms how much we appreciate them, how much we love them. And it's like Mother's Day comes around and it's like, what do I buy? A candle? Like, it's like, what do I get my mom to show that I really care? How has Grace been able to show you in a way that's really meant something to you, how much she cares and loves you?
She puts so much thought into the gifts she gives me.
Oh, okay. She's a good gift giver.
And so they're thoughtful,
Yes.
you know. what it would mean to someone else, but it's specific to me. She appreciates me in all my idiosyncrasies and my, I'll just say idiosyncrasies and who I am. So, she puts so much thought, because so often I'll say, "Oh, please, I don't want to do anything special. What is that about? I don't know. That's something I need to go counsel." I make it hard. But the greatest gift, I think, ultimately, that Grace can give me is to be all of who she's meant to be at the time, because that all evolves and it changes. And for her to continue to create her space in the world, there's not going to be anything that will give me more than the fullness of her life. Because then I really did the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way. I cannot let you all leave Naked Beauty without giving me some beauty tips, some beauty products, a treatment that you guys get, a beauty service that you all love.
Yes.
What are your favorite skincare, makeup, treatments?
I love Linda Ross.
Okay,
period. The esthetician.
Oh, okay, an esthetician.
But she saved my skin.
Is she here in LA?
She's here in LA.
Okay.
I had terrible hormonal acne. Like, nobody could fix it.
I don't remember this period of your life, Grace.
Oh, she does. Mom was the one. I woke up. I was visiting her in Atlanta, and I woke up and she was over me as I fell asleep on the couch. She's like, "Honey, your skin." What happened?
Honesty. That's that honesty we were talking about. And thank God for it.
Right. So I was like,
got
I
it
gotta
together.
find some solution.
I was panicked.
She's like, "We gotta do something." And so she does these amazing, very intense facials where she does, if you have clogged skin, she'll go in there and she will research the whole thing by hand, all natural, one pour at a time. And then she has these products, this colostrum mask that heals. And she was the first person I had ever heard of colostrum with. So she's an OG. And then also a propolis skin moisturizer. And I swear by both of those, you feel the burn, like you feel it, antimicrobial, whatever, it's doing the thing. And then what else?
I mean, your curls are just amazing. What hair products are you reaching for?
Currently, I'm a mixer. Like, I like to try. Oh, this is what I'll say. Over the pandemic, making smoothies, and you're the first one to get this, okay? I was juicing a lot. I put the juice on my face when I'm juicing. Doesn't it make a big difference?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, she did carrot today, or it was
celery, pineapple.
I so believe in that.
Yes, all of that. Mix it with the colostrum mask. As far as my curls, I think that the curls, because I get this question a lot, you have to be patient with the curls. You do not control the curls. You go where the curl is going. Ride the curl wave, babes. And don't rush it. Like, you gotta have an ugly period.
Yes.
You gotta have I cut it off and I hate this. I don't want to look in the mirror. And you have to try different products, because I think every few months they stop working. Your hair stops accepting the product.
To it.
Yes.
Interesting.
And so setting your curls, and I have to say my number one product for my curls is the double toothed comb from Weedod. Nobody talks about it.
Interesting.
It makes the biggest difference out of all of the products I've used. Maybe cuts your time down to 1/8 of what it would to detangle your hair.
To detangle, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's high praise.
No, Weedod,
and it makes a nice.
Yeah, it
pattern.
does that too. Mm-hmm.
What about you, Lynn? What are your go-to beauty products?
This is
because you've been gorgeous your whole life. It's kind of unfair.
I know, but
and all these women are getting the facelifts, and they're doing so much.
I can't wait, because what I have done since I was in my 20s is African soap.
Yes,
and Korean exfoliating pads. So I really believe that there's no point in trying to treat skin that's dead.
Exfoliated away.
Exfoliated
she scrubs
away.
Like nobody I've ever seen.
And I mean, it, sheets of dead skin roll away. And then what you're treating, what you're moisturizing, what you're working on hyperpigmentation or skin tightening, it really has an opportunity to do it. So I have really always exfoliate it. And people can see the difference. If there's a period of time where I don't, Grace is like, Mom, what are you doing? You need sunblock. You need something, girl.
Can I please just say, though, because she and my grandmother, like, I don't know what's in the blood. I'm so grateful. Thank you, Jesus, that I'm related to them. They are so minimal.
Yes. You don't need a whole lot.
Grammy would just be like, baby, pass me the Pond's. What? That's it? No moisturizer,
She
nothing.
loved Pond's.
Not a wrinkle.
And she didn't have wrinkles.
No Botox.
And she passed away in November.
No varicose veins.
At 93.
Wow.
And she was my complexion with no varicose veins. It's crazy.
Wow.
94, actually, right? 94.
That's such an unattractive word.
Varicose veins.
Oh,
But I'll say this
Yeah.
because Mom isn't always
don't like the
aware
sound
of the
of it.
things that she does do for her, because
Oh.
she's always moving, she's always working, she's a busybody, and so she doesn't keep up with a lot of what the people are doing now. All of this layers and layers. She's very minimal to the point where I'm begging her to put a serum on. I'm like, just put something on it.
But
right?
it's clearly working, so maybe don't
do
broke
so
what's not
much.
fixed, what's not doesn't need to be fixed.
Well, no,
Baths.
because
she
it
takes
can.
baths
Oh, baths. You're
I-
big into bathing.
and she does the
Yes.
steam.
Okay.
So steaming, baths, and full body exfoliation. You don't always have time
Yes.
for an acid peel
oh,
and all of that. It's
Yeah.
so dramatic.
yes.
But if you just,
Exfoliate a little bit every day.
it really is so helpful.
Yes.
And full body.
I love it.
And then one product that I discovered in South Africa that I really love is a product's all natural, and it's Eco Diva.
Oh, interesting.
Eco Diva, and it's all natural. Some of it has CBD in it,
I love that.
but you can just smell the freshness, and it makes such a beautiful glow. They have one that has minerals, like, great minerals in South Africa, as
yes.
you know.
I'm going to
the
check
earth
this out.
and
We had the best
And
time
it
in
has
South
like
Africa.
a nice shimmer.
yes.
It has a great shimmer to it.
Oh, I'm excited to try.
We have to go.
Yes.
We had our first mother-daughter trip,
Oh, fun.
like that was a real vacation because we're always catching a trip, working.
Right.
Like she came to see me in Minneapolis at Paisley Park. I go catch her. We go to the vineyard, stuff like that. But this was like, we are going on a trip.
Yes.
She shot a movie in South Africa, Strung,
Cape Town,
which is coming out in Cape Town. So I went and met her, and they flew me Delta One, girl. And once you go Delta One, you don't go, because I first saw Delta One on your page, and I was like, you know what? I've
She's
lived.
So funny.
No, it was beautiful. I loved it. It was fab. Anyway,
But
and
it was Victoria
and
Falls. We did both sides of the falls.
Shelly Howell put together a trip for us where we partnered with Anantara,
Yes.
the Royal Livingstone, and we went to Zambia, Zimbabwe.
Yes.
And the people's skin is beautiful. Their
Gorgeous.
kindness,
So
their
gorgeous.
Yeah.
gorgeous.
We did that trip last summer. It was amazing. We did Zambia and Livingston.
Oh, you
yeah.
did the falls and stuff?
Yes.
Isn't it
rainbows.
beautiful?
Beautiful.
Those
the Zambezi
rainbows.
River.
Oh my
Is-
gosh.
We did safari in Botswana. I mean, it was incredible.
No.
We keep asking Mavi every day. We're like, you remember, right? We're like forcing him to remember.
You better
'cause-
remember.
Yes.
I know. Well, my final question, even though I could talk to you guys for
Mhm.
forever, you guys can answer individually. When do you feel most beautiful?
I think I felt most beautiful in island environments when the humidity just helps to bring a glow
Yes.
to your skin, and being near water
Yes.
brings out a freedom
Yes.
in me. So in those environments, I think I've experienced, the most naturally beautiful
Mhm.
kind of feeling.
I agree.
Um,
You're not rushed. You're not like, you can just, it's like you're on vacation, you're on an island, the
Mhm.
humidity's just right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think for me, that would be the most organically, the time that I feel most organically. They even say beautiful, but beautiful. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, Mom, beautiful.
Yes.
Mine came to me quickly. I'm very aware.
Oh,
of mine.
Tell us.
The moment that I prepare for, right? The moment that like all the practicing and the looking terrible in the house and the sweats and the hair knotted up and the writing the songs and the negotiating and all of that goes away, and you're on the stage and there's this metaphysical thing that happens that you have the nerves off stage and you're being like rude to yourself, and you're just like, okay, we got to do all these things, right? And the stress. But then you get on stage and you're in front of an audience and you're with each other, you know, and there's a quiet that happens that time slows down, and all the nerves and the self-judgment that you felt before is now gone, and you're just quiet, slowed down in this flow with them, and they're with you, and you feel like this is why you live. That's when I feel most beautiful.
I love that. I love that. I have to come to one of your shows.
Yeah, girl.
I need
anytime. Listen, we can always talk forever. You have my number.
I know. And I always love talking
Leo
to you.
Sister.
My Leo sister. Well, this was such a pleasure. Honestly, better than I could have ever imagined. You two are both so inspiring to me.
Aww.
And I love your dynamic. And I hope that Jade and I can be sitting on a couch one day and Jade says, like, you know, we're besties. That would be my dream come true.
That will be.
She will.
Yes, I love it. Thank you both so much.
We love you.
Thank you, love.
And happy Mother's Day for everyone listening.
Aww.